Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, we have a returning guest, Jason S. Bradshaw. Jason, at 14 years of age, started his first business by 21. He had started and successfully exited 3 separate businesses. In every instance, he disrupted the marketplace and won by delivering great customer experiences. He has worked for some of the world's most recognizable brands like Target and Volkswagen, helping them transform the experience they deliver and grow profits. Today, he works with businesses of all sizes to supercharge their growth, all still with a focus on the experience they deliver. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Jason. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, Yannick, it's so great to be on your show again. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Now, I know that you were on our show, I think it was back in 2021. Talk to me about, what's happened since then. How have things been for you?
Well, things have been busy. I'm finalizing the manuscript on not one, but 2 new books, which will come out early in the new year. I've also been working with some really unique organizations in various ways as interim chief growth officer, as a pure consultant, and of course, continuing to do keynote presentations and my work supporting leaders and boards across the globe, transform the experiences they deliver. It's been a really unique time watching organizations of all shapes and sizes navigate this post-pandemic world and what they've considered a priority and what they haven't.
All right. So for those of our listeners that would not have tapped into your previous episode with us, could you tell us about the book that you had before, CEX, which is one of the top reasons we had brought you on? That book was just so amazing. Could you tell us about some of the key tenets or themes that came out across that book?
Sure. So it's all about CEX, the Essential Guide to Customer and Employee Experience. That was my first book, and it was a bit of a passion project to start with because I'd always wanted to write a book, and I finally put the theory into action and wrote a book that was designed to help any individual in an organization understand a couple of key things. Firstly, the key link between customer and employee experience. You can do some tactical things to improve the customer experience for a short period of time. But if you really want to maintain and differentiate the experience that you deliver to your competitors, then you also need to focus on the employee experience. So we tackle that in the book. We also tackle in the book how customer experience is not a soft measure. It's quite often seen as hugging your customers or something that's rather soft. But actually, in the book, you'll discover there's some really strong commercial ties and commercial impacts to the work of a true customer experience professional. And then the third area that we explore in the book is how to actually go about getting started. It always frustrates me throughout my career where I've worked in 7 different industries: banking, finance, government, automotive, retail, etc. It's always frustrated me when I've turned up to an organization and the first thing that I hear is, we haven't been able to do anything because we don't have the money to start. And I'm like, you can start today. You do not need to throw millions of dollars at a problem to start improving it. And in the book, I give a really practical step-by-step guide on how to start improving the experience for your customers and your employees without needing to invest an additional cent or build out a new system. Of course, I talk about some of that stuff as well in the book, but the key message is just get started, and here's the way on how to do it.
All right. So I like the train of thought as it relates to you don't need millions of dollars to start. But let's say you have a CEO in front of you that says, but Jason, it takes money. It costs money to make money and, to train the staff, to get them to be customer oriented, to bring in a consultant. We don't have the resources. We don't have an HR department. We don't have a resource person internally that we can use. What's one thing that we can start with then, since you're suggesting we can do this without millions of dollars invested?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to define what great looks like and measure yourself against that. So if a CEO came out today and said, I think the company is successful if all of our phones are pink. And I'm going to measure how many of our phones in the company are pink. Well, all of a sudden, without training anybody, without spending a cent on banners or education programs or retreats to get people inspired, the sheer fact that you've stated that it's a key goal, the sheer fact that you're measuring it means that someone in procurement is going to start buying pink phones. And it's the same with customer experience and employee experience. Define what great looks like, define how you're going to measure it, and start doing that even in the most rudimentary ways. But the moment you start talking about it, the moment you start putting focus on it, people will start to move towards it. Now, the problem is most organizations say, we want to be known for delivering great customer service or delivering great customer experiences. And they stop there. And then 6 months down the track, they say, well, we said we wanted to be famous for this, but nothing's improved. Well, you've missed the key point. The key point is you've got to define what great looks like. So what do you mean when you say we want to be great at customer experience? What defines or represents great in our terms? And then you have to say, and I'm going to measure it this way. And this will be the marker of success. When you combine that clarity, you don't need to instantly spend money on new systems or new profiles or training, because people will start gravitating towards it. But if you don't have the clarity, people will just fumble around and they won't deliver any improvements. In fact, in many instances, without clarity, you'll go backwards.
All right. Now, you talk a lot about great customer experiences and defining what that looks like, what great looks like. What are your views, since this is an area that you practice in and you have a lot of experience in it, as it relates to the employee experience versus the external customer experience? Do you believe there's a direct correlation between the two? And if you were to, let's say, for example, focus on one more than the other, which one would you give more attention to?
Oh, that's the $1 million question always. If you have to choose one, the area to start out on is the employee experience. And I say that because try to get a happy employee to deliver a bad experience. It's less likely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try to get a disgruntled employee to deliver a great experience, almost impossible, because they're so caught up in their own drama and the own challenges that they're faced every day. Mm-hmm. An organization gets a specialist to come in, they write a 300-step process to deliver a great customer experience, but they don't train their team members and they don't align their systems to the processes. The team member can't deliver that great customer experience that the process was designed to deliver, because everything is getting in the way. But if you say to an employee, I'm going to invest in you, I'm going to make this a great place to work, and you are going to want to see the company succeed, then they will find a way to deliver a better experience for customers, mm-hmm. because intrinsically they're being motivated by the great experience that they have. So if you have to choose, absolutely go with employee experience first. The caveat I'll put on that, though, is yes, you can start with employee experience, but you still have to define what great looks like for the customer.
Agreed. All right, perfect. Now, you spoke a little bit earlier about 2 books I think you mentioned that you're currently working on, but they haven't been published as yet. Could you share with us what those books are going to be about?
Yeah, so one book is a really practical application book. And what I mean by that is you can turn to almost any page in the book and read just that page and go and do work that will improve the experience of your customers, of your products, of your employees. It's designed in a way to encourage action and take away some of the fear of not knowing what to do. Mm-hmm. So think of it as a bit of a experience management handbook. The other book is very similar to my first one in the sense that it's a more traditional business book, and it explores this concept of moving beyond the singular transaction with a customer or with an employee, and focuses on what's next. What does a customer really need to see to be fiercely loyal, for example, to your organization? And again, it will provide some practical guides to how you can go about implementing some of the concepts I talk about in the book, And importantly, it's written in a way that it doesn't matter if you're the team leader of an organization or if you're the CEO, you can see yourself having success and delivering success and growing your business through it.
All right. And when are those books expected to hit the newsstands?
Yeah, well, the year's getting away on us. So the both books will come out in early next year, towards the back end of January.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Now, we're embarking on a new year, as you just mentioned before. Are there any trends as it relates to customer experience that you're seeing currently that you believe will continue to be big things for 2024? And if you were to pick, let's say, two things that you believe organizations should be looking to focus on for their organization as it relates to strengthening their customer experience or growing their customer experience, what would those be?
Well, I'm going to give you three, if that's okay, Unique.
That's perfect.
The first one is specifically aimed at the CX professionals in organizations. You have to tie your work to the return on investment. You have to deliver a return on the investment. I'm seeing companies all around the world de-invest in customer experience programs because the CX leaders in those organizations have been unsuccessful in creating a really robust link between their work and the commercial results of that work. And it's not surprising that CFOs then start to question it, but this work has a commercial element to it, and don't forget it. Number two, how can you be the most convenient for your customers? How can you meet your customers where they are so that you are integrated into the way that they live versus being a transaction? How can you go from being a commodity to being a convenient resource that is part of their life? So what I mean by this is be on the sales channels that your customers want to be on. Offer your customers the communication channels that they want to be on. If you have customers that are 80 years old and you have customers that are 20 years old, then yes, you need to have a landline phone number, and you also probably need to be able to service them on TikTok. To think that you can only do one or the other means that you're going to have disgruntled customers at some spectrum. And of course, I'm using some broad strokes there with those ages, but you understand my point. And the third area is think beyond the purchase, beyond the transaction. If you think of Coca-Cola, many people could argue that Coca-Cola is a pure transaction product. You go in, you pick up the can of soda at the shop, you pay for it, you walk out, you drink it, and the transaction is over, the experience is done, and you move on. Yet you have fiercely loyal customers that will only drink Coke, they won't drink Pepsi or any other cola products, and vice versa for those brands as well. And that's because they create an environment that associates with the consumer's lifestyle choices. They have so much money that they spend on marketing to make you believe that drinking Coke is a lifestyle choice. It talks about you. Now, I mention Coke as an example because quite often the point that I'm about to share with people, they say, oh, well, we just have a product like Coke and they just buy it and consume it, and there's nothing post the purchase that we can do. My argument is that post the purchase transaction, you need to find a way to continue to be in the customer's conversation. I say you need to continue to deliver value. Now, in the sake of a soda, it's about being seen as a lifestyle choice, a successful lifestyle choice, potentially. But if you're selling someone a fridge or a washing machine or a course or a camping tent, whatever you're selling, how can you help that customer actually leverage the benefits of that product, get the most out of that product, so that in 6 months' time, when they're at the barbecue talking about stuff with their friends, they can say, I bought this mobile phone, or I bought this item, or I did this course, and they genuinely wanted me to enjoy it. They genuinely wanted me to be able to use every feature to get the most out of it, to get the most value out of it. And so to sum up point 3, deliver value to your customer even after the purchase has concluded.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, Jason. Now, what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
Oh, well, that would be my survey tool.
Okay.
Now, for me, it doesn't matter what tool you use. There's lots out there, right? There's no secret of the fact that I'm a big advocate of Qualtrics technology, but Qualtrics is an enterprise-grade product. It's delighted for small businesses. There's a whole range of products out there. But the reason I say my survey tool is because if you don't invite your customers and your employees and the marketplace in general to provide you with feedback, if you don't make it easy for them to give you unsolicited feedback, well, then are you really listening? Are you really trying to get a pulse of what's working and what's not working in your business? And so for me, it's about, from a pure tactical perspective, how can you have for me, it's that tool, and I'd encourage everyone to have that tool that lets them get structured and unstructured feedback from customers and employees and the marketplace in general. And so I always go to a survey tool. But outside of that, at a personal level, and it's not really a tool, I guess, but I am a big believer in continued personal learning. And so I read 30 odd books a year. So you could imagine that Audible sits on my mobile phone and always has a book ready for me to listen to when I'm in the car or sitting on a plane.
All right, perfect. Can you also share with our listeners what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Well, these two new books that I've got coming out, they are absolutely one of the passions that I'm working on at the moment. And I'm not just saying that because I want people to buy it. Of course, I do want people to buy it. But they've taken on a life of their own. One book is actually technically 2 years overdue, but that's okay. And the reason I say it's okay is because I listened to what was happening in the marketplace and to what my customers were experiencing and said, no, the book I was writing is not the book people need. And so I hope and trust that when people get the actual version, that the final manuscript that I've written, that they will see that customer experience isn't an option. Focusing on it isn't an option. It is essential to driving a business forward, and that the book has the tools to help them deliver it. It really is something that's just taken on a life of its own. And as I said, it's definitely 2 years overdue. My publisher would have liked to have published it quite a while ago, but it is so important to me that I get this book right, because I want to really leave a dent in the world and improve the lives of customers and employees through my work. And then at a more personal level, I'm working on a couple of new projects that I'll be launching in early December, which are online programs designed to help businesses, specifically small to mid-sized businesses, break through and have business success.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing, Jason. Now, our listeners would have tapped into this episode and they would like to know how they can connect with you online. Where can they find you online?
So I try to keep it as simple as possible. jasonsbradshaw.com and Jason S. Bradshaw on every social network: Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., etc. So Jason S. Bradshaw, and you will find me.
Great. Now, before we wrap our episodes up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? It kind of helps to get you back on track if for any reason you got derailed or you got off track. The quote kind of gets you back there. Do you have one of those?
I absolutely do. And the quote is, no matter what, you've got this. And it's so simple, but it was something a colleague said to me once. And it just is a reminder that whatever the challenge is, it doesn't matter, because you've had challenges before and you've got over them, you've succeeded, and you can do it again. So no matter what, you've got this.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Jason. So Jason, just want to extend our deepest appreciation and gratitude for you coming back on our podcast as a returning guest. That's an awesome milestone. I'm so grateful that you made the time to come back again, especially seeing that you're literally on the other side of the world. But all of the great insights that you shared with us today, reminding us about the things that were in your previous book, CEX. So those of our listeners that would like to tap into that, we'll definitely have the link in the show notes of this episode for that awesome resource. And of course, to keep in touch with you for your new books that are coming out to the latter part of January 2024. So we are extremely grateful that you decided to come and join us again for a quick conversation on mastering customer experience. It was great. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks so much, Unique. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Just want to remind our listeners that you can follow us on X at Navigating CX, and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.